Hey guys, this is Evangelist Sam, One Soul a Day, and I am coming on here to tell you what the Lord told me to tell you. Okay, so today is August 16, 2020, and back in December, the Lord revealed to me, He told me specifically that famine was coming to this land. And so the Lord told me that He wanted me to start preparing my household. And He instructed me specifically to purchase dried beans and rice. He said to purchase dried beans and rice, and that I was to start purchasing these things little by little. Each time I went shopping, I was to be specific and allocate a portion of my food budget, that month's food budget, to purchasing dried beans and rice. He also instructed me to start storing them properly. So he told me to go to Home Depot, and this is no plug for Home Depot, but he did say, the Lord said, go to Home Depot and get the buckets, the painter's buckets. And he said to start storing the beans and rice, the dried beans and rice, in these large painter's buckets. So just about 2 months ago, the Lord reminded me, he said specifically, do you remember what I told you in December? And about the famine. The famine is coming. He said, I want you to start telling people now, and I also want you to rev up your preparation. So he said, tell anyone that will listen, I'm going to lead you to people, tell them, start telling people, start sharing the message, because famine is coming to the land. And so I personally started to rev up my intake of dried beans and rice, and this time I also heard the Lord say, do dried beans, rice, and water. And so my family and I were prepping, but we also began telling people, telling anyone that will listen. This is not the first video that I've made about this, but this is the first YouTube video that I've made about this. I made a Facebook video, but this is the first YouTube video. So I want to encourage you guys to understand what the Lord is saying in this season. Famine is coming to this land. God said to prepare yourself by purchasing dried beans and rice. Now, we're Christians, okay? Let's go to the Word of God. A lot of you are wondering, where is this coming from? Where is the biblical reference? Well, let's talk about it. Matthew 24 states that there will be a series of events that take place before Christ's second coming. Christ himself is having an interaction, having a conversation with his disciples in Matthew 24, upon their request to learn of the signs of the times, or the indicators by which they would know that the world is coming to an end. Christ says specifically that there will be wars and rumors of wars, pestilences, famines, earthquakes. Now, again, a series of events. Now, I'm paraphrasing here, but I want to bring focus to a couple of things. Wars and rumors of wars, right? Not only are there wars happening all over the entire earth right now, there is literal war and even almost civil war in the United States, okay? You have the protesters on the front lines fighting for equality and equity, and rightfully so, right? But there's a lot of stuff happening. Not only are people fighting for equality and equity, but there are people that are fighting for other things, right? There are people that are fighting to tear down the Constitution, people that are fighting to build up and sustain the Constitution. But there are wars and rumors of wars. The next thing God talked about was pestilences, the coronavirus, a global pandemic, okay? Now, we've been through global pandemics before, but nothing like the coronavirus has hit and killed literally millions of people, and still counting. So the coronavirus, pestilences, and then there's other diseases that are in the news. The news is talking about the Ebola virus and all kind of different things that are happening as a result of this end time that we are living in. Another thing that God talked about was earthquakes. We've been seeing natural disasters all over the place. I mean, an increase in number in natural disasters like never seen before. Scientists are noticing it. People are noticing that there has been an increase literally in natural disasters and in diverse places that never had natural disasters, places that never faced earthquakes and these types of things, tsunamis. They're having these natural disasters in diverse places. Another thing, again, and this is what we're talking about, this is what this video is about today, famine. God said that famine would be an indicator of the end times. Now, I want to also point to Genesis chapter 41, where God said specifically through a dream and to Pharaoh, which was interpreted by Joseph. God gave Joseph the interpretation. So let me start over. In Genesis chapter 41, Pharaoh has a dream. This dream literally is of 7 well-favored fatted calf who are grazing by the water. They're drinking water, and they are literally eaten up by 7 unfavored lean calf. Okay, so what does that mean? These are cows. The first set of 7 are well favored and fatted. Okay, you could even call these cows obese. These cows are well favored, fatted. Now keep in mind that years ago obesity was considered a sign of wealth. Okay, only poor people were skinny, right? So now you have obesity as being a sign of wealth, and you have these 7 well favored fatted calf that, you know, again, well favored. Notice the emphasis on well favored and fatted calf. And now there are 7 lean, unfavored, okay, lean, scary lean calf that come up, and literally through their starvation, and because of their starvation, they eat up the 7 well-favored fatted calf. And the Bible specifies that even after they eat up the 7 well-favored fatted calf, that they are still scary lean. So what does God say that this dream means? God gives Joseph the interpretation. He says that there will be 7 years of plenty. Meaning what? There will be plenty of food, plenty of prosperity, plenty of productivity, plenty of purpose. Like, things are happening, people are thriving, and there's no need and no want for anything. In fact, people are living in literal abundance. They have more than enough, and more than enough to throw away, give away, stow away, okay? And guess what? God tells Joseph that those 7 years of plenty will be followed by 7 years of famine. And not only 7 years of famine that eat through the 7 years of plenty, but that eat it up and are still scary lean. Guys, I heard the Lord say that there will be 7 months of famine. 7 months of famine coming to the United States of America. I heard the Lord say, and he specified that the months of January through July were the 7 months of plenty. During even the COVID-19 pandemic, there was money flowing everywhere, food flowing everywhere. Some of you may have not benefited from this, but I know in the cities, the urban cities, and in places where I was, guys, there was food everywhere. You can get food. You can call numbers, and there were government programs that will literally deliver food to you. Look, we're in New York City. You could get food NYC, and they would deliver prepared, catered, okay, meals to you on a daily basis in abundance. You can go to the public schools and get free food. Not only kids from 0 to 18, but anybody, whomsoever will, whoever was hungry. There was food in pantries and food everywhere. I mean, pantries had to get rid of food. People that go to pantries had more than enough. And of course, there was plenty of food because people were stocking up. They had to, from that plenty, they had the opportunity to stock up during COVID-19, whether they ate those things or not. There were hoarders, literally, and really prep people. Not everyone is a hoarder. Some people are taking advantage of the fact that they have the financial resources to sustain their family, and they are planning ahead. So there were people that were planning ahead. There were preppers, and there were hoarders that were getting this food, and it was plenty of it. I heard the Lord say that there will follow 7 months of famine. And remember, according to Genesis 41, the 7 months of famine that followed the 7 months of fruitfulness and prosperity and productivity were scary lean. still, even after eating through all of that plenty. I heard the Lord say again, there will be 7 months of famine. And in order to prepare your household, you must buy dried beans and rice and water. Please take heed, guys. The Lord said in order to be sustained during the 7 months of famine, you must purchase dried beans and rice and water. Now, please take heed. The Lord said this. He said that the stores that you normally shop at, whether it's Costco or wherever you shop, right? Those stores will literally be closed down, shut down, okay? Grass growing over in parking lots because there's no food. No food. And I hear the Lord say, use this example. I have a cousin who is in the food delivery business. He's in the food business. He has a refrigerated food truck. Now, this cousin of mine, prior to COVID-19, it used to work 8 days a week. 8 days, okay? This brother lived on the job. 7 days a week, no breaks. He complained about how much work he had to do. He had money in his pocket, but he was always tired and always working. Guess what? I called him in the middle of the pandemic just to see how he was doing. And my brother, my cousin, had 3 to 4 days of work. And he was enjoying the break, right? Because he was working 7 days a week before. But he said, you know, it was kind of getting tight on the pocket side because he was used to a certain amount of money. I called him towards the back end of the first wave of the pandemic. And we'll talk about that in another video. It was about maybe March, June it was June, July that I called my cousin, and he told me literally he was down to 1 day a week. How is that possible? Now, I know for a fact that they weren't discriminating against him because he also had other truck driver friends who were down to 1 day too. Now, if there are refrigerated trucks and truck drivers who are unemployed, not in use, do you know what that means? That not only is there a food shortage, but there's no food to deliver. Now, you might be looking around you and feeling like, oh, everything is everything in my city. I have access to everything in my city. We are living in abundance. Well, to God be the glory that you are right now. Notice in Genesis 41, the day before the famine, there was abundance. The week before the famine, there was abundance. The month before the famine, there was abundance. I want to encourage you, just like God instructed Pharaoh in the dream, through the mouth of Joseph, to start preparing yourself for 7 whole months of famine. Guys, you will not be able to go outside. There will not be food at stores. There won't be anything. And please don't think that your small garden is going to sustain you. I thank God for your garden. I'm growing one too, but I am taking heed to the Lord's bidding. The Lord is warning us. This is an admonition. Please take heed, guys. Prepare yourself for 7 months of famine. Purchase dried beans, rice, and water, and let God sustain you during this coming famine, you and your family. I pray in the name of Yeshua that you and your family would take heed and that you would be sustained in this season. I pray that you would share this with every person that you love, like, and even hate. Please, guys, nobody wants to starve to death. Please share. Please prepare. I love you and I thank God for you. And the very last thing, guys, before I end this video, the Lord said to say this, and to say this specifically. The beans, the dried beans, dried rice, and water can only sustain you. It's Jesus Christ, Yeshua himself, that can save you. Please don't be sustained to later burn in hell. Please repent and turn to Christ today while he may be found. I love you guys. Stay tuned for more, and please prepare. I love you. God bless.